Joining me right now is the head of CIO and Investment Solutions Group at Merrill Lynch and U.S. Trust, Keith Banks. Keith, it's good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good to be here, Maria.
So here we are, coming back, beginning the new season, the fall, with expectations of something getting done out of the White House. Do you think the markets are still expecting tax cuts?
I think the markets are. I don't think it's going to impact this year's market performance. But I do think as we go into 2018, tax reform is very important. And without it, I think it creates a big headwind for the markets and for earnings at some point.
So you've got North Korea, which is obviously an unknown and a wild card. You've got tax reform, another wild card. What are you telling clients to do right now in terms of markets?
So the good news is, if you look at the macro backdrop, from a fundamental standpoint, you've got the global synchronized recovery continues. Europe surprises, Japan surprises, U.S. growing 2.5%, globally 3.5%, all good, giving us strong earnings growth. And the but is, coming out of summer, we've got a lull between a great second quarter earnings set of reports and the third quarter, and what we think investors may begin to focus on is what you said, Korea. It's going to be the debt ceiling negotiations, as well as we think in September the Fed will begin to talk about normalizing its balance sheet. Could that create a pullback? Yeah, it could. Dramatic? We don't think so. We're not going to try to time it, so we'll stay overweight equities.
It sounds like you're saying you don't expect the debt ceiling to be a fight at the end of the day. You don't expect the budget to be a real fight at the end of the day. You don't expect problems there. What if there are? What if the debt ceiling isn't raised? What if we do have a shutdown? Does that change your viewpoint of the latter part of this year and into next year?
That's a big deal. I don't think the markets are discounting. I think they're discounting potentially an 11th hour thing again, because that's what tends to happen. But I believe the markets do think they'll get where they need to go. The government will not shut down. If the government shuts down, then I think you could get a bigger pullback than just a 5% type of correction.
Keith, how would the markets respond if President Trump asked Janet Yellen to stay on for another 4 years at the Fed, and she said yes?
I think it's a good thing.
Stability.
It's stability. It's a known quantity. I actually think she's done a good job, and I think people don't like surprises. What you see is what you get. I think that would be a positive thing for the.
That's what you think is going to happen.
Well, this is the scenario that I think the market hasn't really priced in. But when you look at all the chaos over North Korea, when you look at the problems they're having advancing tax reform, if the president wants a win for the markets, and he's clearly watching how the markets perform, it seems like picking Janet Yellen it's an easy case for him.
That's a safe bet.
Yeah, I think that would be positive, and I think that'd be a good direction for the president to go in.
How would the markets respond? They rally on that?
Well, I don't know if they'd rally on that, but I think, again, the risk is more the opposite. If you put someone in place that they don't have the confidence in, or you don't have the same knowledge of the individual and the policies, it could create some additional headwinds.
You're talking about Gary Cohn?
Whomever they think about. Anyone that the markets just don't have as much of a history with.
Sounds like you're staying invested.
We're staying overweight equities. If we do get a pullback in the fall, Maria, we'd be telling investors to take advantage of that, move more assets to equities if you're not where you need to be.
Because things feel like they're getting better. Look, the economic backdrop, let's face it.
The economic backdrop is very strong, and earnings, we're still going to see high single-digit earnings growth in the third and fourth quarters after double-digit earnings growth in the first and second quarters.
Right.
Not so bad.
And maybe if we get tax reform, those numbers even go higher.
That's without, tax reform could result in higher numbers in 2018.
Keith, good to see you.
Always good to be here.
Thank you so much. Keith Banks, U.S. Trust, Merrill Lynch. Coming up.